Hello everyone, this is LEGO's 2020 rendition of the Star Wars original trilogy AT-AT. This one's rendered at around LEGO's normal size for these things, which is a little under 14 inches or 35 centimeters in height. This comes with 6 minifigures, a speeder, and an E-Web cannon. At first glance, this to me is the most movie-accurate one of these that LEGO has made to date since 2003. Although I don't like to ever see the discolored pieces like the blue and brown Technic parts and also some tan shows through. But overall proportions I think are pretty good for this scale, which is not entirely movie accurate, but it is adjusted to work with LEGO minifigures, and the head especially I think is shaped up pretty nicely this time. My favorite part is right here with the half plate height black line going through it, and this also has a couple of spring-loaded shooters mounted underneath. They are farther apart than they were last time. We still don't have the reciprocating realistic cannon action down here like the original toy did from Kenner, but you can at least shoot from a slightly more realistic position. This time the previous one had them centered. And then of course you can put minifigures in there. The great news this time being that you can actually fit 3 of them in there, 2 drivers and the commander. It's a little bit of a tight squeeze, but not too bad. It does work. While we're here, the side cannons can be rotated up and down freely. They are a little bit lacking in detail this time around, though. The head can be turned from side to side, and the whole thing can be moved at the neck. But they've got an interesting thing going on with the neck. I'm not sure I like it. Basically, this can rotate normally, right, side to side. But then if you want to turn at this joint that's farther in, all right, that works, but then it springs back. They actually have a rubber bushing piece in there, which you could potentially leave out if you don't like this. But ultimately, it just means that in the default build, the way it was designed to be assembled, you can't put it into an extreme neck turn pose and just have it stay like that. Also, again, lots of colored pieces that I don't like to see here, especially the blue ones. And if I say so myself, this neck is not as good as the last one. It's just too open, being able to see right through there. They used 3 large Technic steering wheels for that. A different technique, not necessarily a good one. The basic design strategy for the legs for these things has not changed dramatically through the years, except when they did the Technic motorized one. They're plenty sturdy. You have more than enough articulation with these because they have these ratcheted joints that will go much farther than is even reasonable. This thing is going to start to want to collapse if I try to put it onto 3 legs, if I do it wrong, and that's completely understandable, but it is nice to have that ability. So if I wanted to have this into in a fully collapsed form, I potentially could. The knees can only go to about 90 degrees right there, but they can also reverse. So, I mean, that's respectable. The feet are not able to rotate from side to side, but you are able to go forward and back with them. And speaking of the feet, these do have 4 toes. The inner one is a little bit shorter, but at least it exists. The shaping of the main hull, I think, is pretty good. I like some of the techniques that are used for the simulated shoulder joints, though once again, I'm not happy about those colors that show through with the Technic pieces. But the real brilliance here with this model is just beneath this panel, because there are seats in there. They are accessible. There are plenty of them. And, well, that's all that we really want out of a transport, isn't it? From LEGO, from anybody for that matter, but especially LEGO. LEGO frequently doesn't get this right. This time they did. You can transport plenty of stuff. If you want to put more seats in there on your own to customize it, obviously you can. There's plenty of space even in between there. You can add more things in. Could they have given us better accommodations out of the box? Yes. Am I complaining though? No, because this is way better than what they've done before. Now, if you're wondering about that string right there and some of the Technic mechanism towards the front, well, that's what this hatch here is for. This just flips up, and then there's a gear that you can access with your finger that works a winch to drop something down. That's pretty familiar. It's the grappling gun for Luke, so he can do his thing, get up here, open the hatch on the underside, and throw a thermal detonator in there. Finally, at the back, there's still more access. I can lift the top and bring the back down, which gives me just the right amount of room to slide in, the speeder, so that can also be stored aboard. Only one in its default configuration, but still, slide that right in, holds it somewhat securely. Bring this down, bring this up, then bring this down, and you can see the speeder fits into the space between the seats. Here's a better look at that speeder. I think it's nothing too fancy, nothing too special, but it definitely looks like what it's supposed to be. You immediately know what you're looking at. You can potentially put 2 figures on this easily. Just remove the tan ingot piece. It's got built up, slightly adjustable handlebars, the control bars there. Single cannon in the center. That's rather large. Or was that a launcher? I think it's just a cannon. And then on the sides are what in real life would be the pedals or foot pegs. But in this case, because minifigures put their feet up here, they're just used as stands. So this thing will stand up properly and almost looks like it's floating, There's not too much beneath it. So I think it looks pretty good and really glad that it fits into the walker. The E-Web is a different type of design using the arrow blade center portion to create a tripod stand for it. It's really unfortunate that they don't include a power cell unit for this. That was a really important thing, in my opinion, from back in those days. I just liked hooking up a power cell to these, or the idea, at least, of hooking up a power cell to these. It just, made it more cool to me personally. So this feels a little bit incomplete, though what is there is fine. Looking at figures, these are the latest variants of LEGO's AT-AT drivers, and they just look a little bit better in the torso and especially the legs. I think the leg printing is improved the most from the previous version. These are just getting a little bit more accurate every single time. That's really been the focus with their design, with these figures in particular. I'm sure all figures they think about accuracy, but these they've really done their homework on, in my opinion. And underneath the helmets, hallelujah, LEGO has finally recognized that if any original Django clones, angry Django clones, were present in and depicted in the original trilogy, they were very extremely few and far between, not to mention very old. So no more angry clone for every single helmeted bad guy figure in existence. Thank you at long last. Well, at least that is for the special ones, the special helmeted characters. These are just 2 generic snowtroopers. Too bad we don't get the backpacks and the cloth pieces. But the level of detail here is pretty good, and honestly, I don't mind for just regular troopers to not have all the extra special stuff. I appreciate the fact that we at least get a couple of these, and I think they look pretty good. So I'm pretty happy with these. And here, underneath the helmets, not even the same generic face used. 2 different faces. So again, more confirmation that LEGO has recognized that these weren't clones. They were different people. 2020 actually might not be all bad after all. And then here we have General Veers on the left and Luke Skywalker on the right. Wow, that's a lot of detail for Luke. Just all over him, just all detail. So much printing. I mean, they didn't go into printing on the side of the legs or the arms, but what is there looks pretty good to me. The white on the torso is not 100% opaque, but it's not too bad. It definitely doesn't stand out in a particularly bad way. Veers looks pretty good here. Pretty appropriate expression for him also, I have to say. I always love the prints that LEGO does on Rebel and etc. helmets. They always tend to do a very good job with those. Not always the most accurate. Sometimes there have been some slight mismatches, but just at least the looks of them, I think, is consistently good. And beneath these helmets, we do not get any hair pieces in this set, but we do get these alternate expressions. So this is Veers. Veers is I have you now equivalent, or the shield generator has been destroyed appearance. And then Luke just looking a little bit more happy and with the visor up also. That's important. So let me just frame that up to let you see how that looks with the helmet on, visor up. Finally, these are the leftover parts, and there's no sticker sheet to show you because no stickers were used in this set. Looking at price and value, this set goes for $160 US. That's 160, to which I have to say, ouch. For the sake of context, the last full-sized Imperial AT-AT from LEGO cost $110. $110. It was very similar in size. I mean, the hull portion of it was a bit smaller. The legs are the same. The overall scale is pretty much the same. There are definitely way less accommodations in this one for stuff than in this one. I mean, this did have some space inside, but it was not really set up for anything. You could put figures in there, but again, it really wasn't set up for anything properly. You can only accommodate a total of 2 figures up in the head, and there was no additional accommodation down the center for a speeder. So this definitely does a lot more than this, in addition to having some more parts. And for a more recent comparison, the 2017 ATM6 had about 100 more parts, and it cost $10 less. So this was $150 over here. Once again, far less in the way of accommodations. This could hold kind of a figure back right here, and then they had a little bit of a storage compartment over here on either side. In the head, this would hold a single figure. Just overall, this is a better toy, and I think it makes for a better display model, except for the obvious blue and to a lesser extent the brown there. But I really hate the blue pins just so much. So much. Everything else is so good by comparison, and you do see some of those with this as well. But there are less here. They're still there. Regardless, this costs a little bit more, has way less pieces, but is better in general. Overall, again, in my opinion, this is the best AT-AT that they've done officially to date, and thus I personally, as an AT-AT fan, will be keeping this. Long term, just like I had previously kept the 2014 version on display, just because I like the thing in universe and I like LEGO, so if they do a decent job, I want to keep it. This is definitely superior to that previous one in almost every way. Change out those darn blue Technic connectors. Maybe consider doing something to make the neck look a little bit better. Leave out the rubber bushing if you don't want the neck to spring back like that. And yeah, I think you got yourself a pretty good toy and display piece here. I mean, just what they did with the interior is just so superior, so superior. They definitely seem to have listened, I think, to a lot of the feedback that they've gotten about vehicles and transports. Too bad they haven't listened on all of their sets, but at least with this one, they definitely did. They've kicked out Angry Clone, finally recognizing what is obvious and just giving us random, generic, different faces beneath there, which is great. I look forward to seeing that forever. Now, that was such a long bout of frustration of seeing the exact same face under every single helmet for all those years. But yeah, that's a big improvement. The fact that 3 people will fit into this head here, that's good. I just hope that the next version of this that they do, if it doesn't have the working shoulder articulation, where these can go up and down to allow you to have even better posability of this, then at least that it'll have the articulating, or rather reciprocating, chin cannons. I think that LEGO can do that fairly easily now, and I think it's time. I think it's time for that. You know, the Kenner model got that right from the start, and you know, LEGO needs to do that. Otherwise, I'm pretty darn happy with this thing. The price is a lot, and for that, I just have to defer to the fact that LEGO is really, really expensive. It is not something for folks on a really, really tight budget, generally speaking, with few exceptions along the way. They just are expensive toys these days. But me, I would definitely buy this for myself if I didn't have this channel. I would feel like it was expensive, yes, but I would still buy it. So what does that say? Hopefully something provides some value to you. Thank you for watching. I hope that this at least showed you what you wanted to see here. You can check out the builds for this if they're not available as of the time that you're watching this, if you're watching this review fairly quickly after its publishing. They will be available pretty soon. I've got the real-time build and the speed build as well. Check out one of those if you'd like to, and I'll talk to you again soon.